What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I sat down and did a dupe or don't. I mean, like, when was the last time I actually did a dupe or don't? But I'm doing one today because I'm super excited about trying to dupe the Sultry palette with this one here called the Temptress palette. I'm gonna talk a little bit about this actual brand, which is called Alter Ego. Alter Ego reached out to me and they said that they wanted to send me dupe for the Sultry palette, which I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. Obviously, I'm not been sponsored or anything like that, and I didn't want to be sponsored. I just wanted to try out the palette when they reached out. I know that's a total side note, but it needed to be said. So they sent me a little bit of information about the brand. So Alter Ego is a beauty without compromise. They offer highly pigmented, luxurious formulations that are cruelty free, so you can recreate the most coveted looks from your favorite artists. They also said that you can shop for this palette for $16. It's cruelty free and it's available on shopalterego.com, and then obviously it's inspired by the $45 Sultry palette. They also have given me a 20% off coupon code for my followers, and it is drama. I'm going to leave that in the description bar below, just if you do want to go onto their website and pick up something. If this is not a dupe for this, I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. Like I said, I'm under no obligation to promote this. You get the gist when I talk about stuff like this, that I am authentic, 100% real with you guys. I just, in case you've stumbled upon this channel and you're just thinking that I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, this is great, go out and buy it. If it's not, I will be real. So this is what the Sultry palette looks like. I have never used this, so this is going to be like a complete first impressions of this palette as well. But I have used Anastasia Beverly Hills in the past. I have used probably, yeah, nearly all of her recent releases. It's a beautiful cool toned palette, and I just see like silvers and golds popping out to me right there. Like, it's quite cool toned, and then they have this one pop of like a muted red color, I guess, like almost borderline pinky red. Absolutely beautiful. As you can see, the shades are just gorgeous, and I'm sure, like with most of her palettes, the pigmentation is right up there. So let's just give like a little swatch of this one. Oh my god. Sorry guys, I just got very excited there. Like, this is some of the pigmentation that we're dealing with. Can we just? So that's some of the shadows from the Sultry palette. Anastasia price point, so it's going to be a little bit expensive. Not all of us can afford it, and we want to be kind of selective of what we're purchasing. Alter Ego brand have brought this out. Now, I know every single time I mention kind of like dupes, imitations, stuff like this, I understand your kind of like anger towards them, but please don't take this out on me. I'm just trying to dupe a palette or see if they are dupes, that's all. Don't want to go into the politics behind like brands copying other brands. We're just seeing if they're dupes. It's just fun. It's makeup, it's fun. So this is what the Temptress palette looks like, and it is almost identical to the Sultry palette. Like, they're identical shades. They are in different positions, but they have given me like a card to reference back to see like what the shades are, but I probably could figure these out like looking at them with the naked eye. So I'm just going to take like maybe the same 3 shades just to, ooh, we're just gonna have to see. So there are the dupes. So right off the bat, I can kind of see the shades are very, very similar. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to do like a tutorial on this eye using the Sultry palette, on this eye using the Temptress palette, just to compare the same shades and see the blendability, the wear, if the shades are alike. And then what I'll do is I'll swatch both palettes side by side, doing the Sultry first and then its corresponding dupe, just to see if the shades are the same, pigmentation, etc. And then just kind of like talk a little bit more about the palette. So I don't know too much about the shipping of this. It is a US company, so I'm presuming shipping is going to take a little bit of time if it is coming to Ireland. Generally, when it comes to these dupes videos, I actually buy the product myself, and then I can tell you a little bit more about shipping and navigating around the website. But the website is quite easy to use. It's a very basic website. So we're going to start off by priming my eyelids, and then we will get into application. So I'm going to be taking the same brush to do each step between both eyes, but I'm just going to clean it off really, really well in between application, just because I find it's harder to tell if the products are working the same if you're using like different tools, if that makes sense. I'm going to take this brush first, which is an Inglot 4SS. And I'm going to take the Sultry palette, and I'm just going to go in with the shade Fresh, and I just want to set my eyelid because I just put a base down, so I just want to set my base. And then with the Temptress palette, I'm going to take the shade Lace, which is similar to Fresh, or it's supposed to be its dupe. So right off the bat, I'm noticing that Lace is a lot more of a stiffer shadow than Fresh. I don't know if that affects the quality of the shadows or how they apply or anything like that. Obviously, this is just like a plain cream shadow, so I'm not going to be able to tell too much from it. Okay, I'm gonna go in with Birch from the Sultry Palette, which is this warm toned brown down here. And I'm just gonna take that on one of these Jaclyn Hill brushes. This is the JH30. Also, this is not gonna be the most remarkable eyeshadow look, guys. It's just about checking the dupes and checking if they are dupes. So this shadow works amazing, just like most of Anastasia's eyeshadows. It's incredible. I'm using, like I said, a big fluffy brush because I just want to disperse it evenly and I don't want block shadow. I just want like a real like light wash through the crease. Taking the shade Lust next, I'm gonna do the exact same thing on this eye. Ooh, wow, so that's a lot more pigmented than I actually initially was expecting. Like that's almost nearly more pigmented than the Anastasia one. Like I used the same amount of shadow and I got an awful lot more product on my brush. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of depth to my eye now, and I'm going to take the shade Twig here. I'm just going to pop that kind of like into the outer crease. Focus it on my outer V. So now with the Temptress palette, I'm going to take the shade Uptown. So now I'm just going to pop that in the exact same position, and I'm using the same brush, obviously cleaned off. Again, quite pigmented and looks very similar. It's a little bit lighter in like pigmentation perhaps, but I feel like it could definitely build that up. So next I'm going to take the shade Ember, which is this gorgeous shade up here, and I'm going to pop this into like this part of my eye here. God, that's super pretty. I'm not using any Fix Plus with this, guys. This shade is gorgeous. So the equivalent shade to Ember is the shade here, Mistress, down here, Mistress. Oh my god. So I'm just going to put that in the exact same place. Oh my god. Again, there's no Fix Plus on this either, or nothing, no like mixing medium, nothing to make my brush wet, nothing like that. And it is coming across quite nice. Not as extreme as the Anastasia one, but still like it's coming across really nice. I need to use more of this, I'm finding, than with Anastasia, like just to kind of build it up a bit. Okay, so I've had my eye on Cinder since I opened this palette, which is this one down here, and I'm just going to place that into the inner portion of my eye. Oh my god, such a beautiful shade. So it has like a touch of almost like warmth to it, like a little bit. I'm going to take the shade Ritz down here, which is equivalent to that shade Cinders, and I'm just going to pop that into the inner portion of my eye, just like I did with the other one. Ooh. Very, very, very pretty. Like there's absolutely no difference between either eye, unless you guys can see it and I can't. So I'm going to add Fresh into my, which is the first shade that I used, into my inner corner just to open it up a bit. And I'm also going to apply it underneath my brow bone just to brighten that area. And then again on the other side I'm going to use Lace just to do the exact same thing. Open up the inner tear duct and just brighten up my brow bone. I already have concealer under my brow bone, so that's why it might look bright already. I'm going to add some black, which is Noir from Sultry, onto the outer corner of my eye. Oh. Okay, that's definitely a lot more pigmented than I was expecting. Yeah, I don't want to add too much black, but I just want to add a bit of depth out there. On the dupe side, I'm going to go in with Stiletto. Wow, so this is just as deep as the other side. So they did good with the black. Do you know what? I nearly prefer the black on this side to that side. Like I actually feel like it's even more intense. I think they look almost identical. Like I really like this eye, I just really do. So I'm just going to like clean up, put lashes on and liner, and we're going to do the lower part of my eye. Okay guys, so I'm going to do underneath my eyes because I've obviously finished my eye makeup, and I'm going to take Sultry first. I'm going to take a big fluffy brush and I'm going to take the shade Twig and just kind of run that under my whole lower lash line. And then I'm going to take the same brush and Uptown from this palette. I'm just going to do the same thing on this eye. And then with the Sultry, we're going to go in with Noir and just place that on the outer portion of my lower lash line. And I'm going to take Stiletto from this palette and do the same thing. I actually feel like the black in this palette is way deeper than the one in the Anastasia. I haven't done a cool tone dark eye like this in ages and I'm totally vibing with it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so that's the eye look complete. I'm going to do swatches of both these palettes next, and then I'm going to come back and do like my roundup. Are they dupes or not? And kind of what I'm really thinking about the Temptress palette in particular, because obviously like the Anastasia, it is what it is and we kind of know the quality of Anastasia, but what do I actually think of the Temptress palette? So Anastasia is up top and then we have the Temptress down below. So you can obviously see that the shades are quite similar, they're just in different places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch like going across this way, and then I'm going to do the comparison shadow from the Temptress palette. First one we have is Fresh and its comparison is Lace. I feel like Lace needs a bit more of a build up. Next we have Pearl and its dupe is Seduction. So definitely chunky, but not as chunky as the Anastasia. So next we have Steampunk, which is a gorgeous gold shade. And from the Temptress palette, it is the shade Guilt. Just a little bit more bronzy than the Anastasia one, which is a little bit more gold, I find. So Anastasia's Rose Quartz. And from Temptress, it is the Champagne shade. It's quite similar to the Anastasia one. That's actually kind of the closest one I've gotten so far. So next I have Ember, which is what I used in my eye. This is like my favorite shade out of that palette. I actually think it's gorgeous. And from the Temptress palette, it is the shade Mistress. So in my opinion, they are quite similar. Just not as pigmented, this one, than the Anastasia one. But in general, the shades are quite similar. They just need a little bit more building up. But I'm going to do Bloom next, which is this beautiful like pinky red shade. And its dupe is Blush. Okay, because those shades are like completely identical. It's just the pigmentation that we're dealing with. So the one from the Temptress palette is a little bit less pigmented than the one from the Anastasia. Brought the brightness down just a little bit so you guys can see a bit better. So next up I have Birch. And the dupe for Birch is this shade here, Lust. So they are very similar and even similar in pigmentation. Next I've got Cinder. Oh my god, that shade is just fantastic. Quite chunky though from this palette. And its dupe is this one here, Ritz. So that's it there. Ritz is a lot more of a creamier shade than the chunky one from the Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. Ultimately, they're the same shade. Next I have Twig. And its dupe is Uptown. Very alike. Next up is Teak. And its dupe is this one here, Desire. So they are extremely similar. I don't know if you can even see that on camera, but they are extremely similar. Very similar to these shades here as well. Next up is Dystopian, which is this really deep dark chocolate brown. And its dupe is After Hours. And they are very similar in pigmentation and just how they apply and everything. They are probably the most identical in the whole bunch. So next up I have Cyborg from Anastasia. And the dupe is Sterling from the Temptress palette. So they are very similar again. Slate from Anastasia and Whisper from Temptress palette. So they're a little bit different. Just even different tones of grey. Final shade I have is Noir, which is a really deep dark black. And then Stiletto from the Temptress palette. And I was right about them the whole way along, that the one from the Temptress palette is definitely a darker black, a lot more pigmented black. So guys, my final thoughts on the Temptress palette versus Sultry. I feel that the shades are so similar to the Sultry palette and I feel like they blend similar and they look the same on the eye. Like from what I got, like I got the exact same eye look from both palettes and I couldn't be able to tell like if someone came up to me and was like, which eye is high end and which eye is like super affordable. I wouldn't know. In my opinion, the formula of this is amazing and I just think it is a really great palette just to have if you are interested in the Sultry palette but you don't want to spend like the €45 or $45. The only shade that I actually found was a bit of a miss in this entire palette was the shade Lace. I just found that the pigmentation was not all there and it wasn't anywhere, shape or form comparable to Fresh from this palette. However, it is the only shade that I'm kind of just like a bit bummed out about. matte shades definitely were more dupes for the mattes in this. From some of the shimmery shades and some of the foiled shades, they had the shade to a T, but just the formula was a little bit different, but they look the same ultimately on the eyes, so it's not really a big deal. Mostly with kind of the chunkier shades, would say Pearl and Cinder. I found that they were just the only two that were not completely comparable. And also I found that Steampunk, which is that gold shade just up in the top row there, and the shade Guilt, which is this one here, there was like a tiny fraction of a difference. But I think if you put them on the eye, you wouldn't even notice them. So is this a dupe or don't? Well, I gotta say it's a dupe, guys. I really think that this is a dupe for the Sultry palette. The only kind of things I said are like my major kind of qualms with it was lace. Like that's the only shade in this whole palette that I just think is not comparable. I find that these work amazingly well on the eye. The Temptress palette blends out super nice. You know that brand Copycat Beauty that I did a video on there not so long ago, and I was using the eyeshadow palette and comparing it to the Sweet Peach palette from Too Faced. They were not dupes in any way, shape or form, and I said that in the video, and I just found like the blendability and the quality, even though the shades were similar, wasn't there in the more affordable one. Whereas with this one, I feel like the quality, the blendability and the actual shadows looking alike, you know, it is there. And I do feel like if you wanted to run out and get this palette, or you know, go onto their website and buy it, you won't be disappointed. It's very similar. Now you're saving over half price when you get this, so you know, expect what you expect from this kind of price point. I'm actually blown away with it, and it's a palette that I'm going to dip into a lot more. I just find that the shades in it are lovely, and I'm really about that cool feels in both these palettes. So yeah, $16 palette versus a $45 palette. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. So guys, that is all I can really need to say about those palettes. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you got a little bit of an insight into the new brand Alter Ego. Let me know what you would like to see on my channel coming up soon, and I will talk to all you guys in my next video. I love you so much from the bottom of my heart. Mwah. Bye guys.